Hi guys, it's Kate plus Dare, minus the Kate today. I'm just going to be doing a solo video today all about my K2 experience. I'm just going to dive right into this. I haven't talked about this full story in a while, and that's because honestly it still gives me anxiety, so I'm hoping that today I could just let this all out, say it one last time to help people, to inform people, and just never have to talk about it again. Okay, so where do I even begin? Let me give you like a little bit of my background story. So in middle school, I always did really well in school. I was always in extracurricular activities, and even into high school I did. I was on dance team, I was in the school plays, variety shows, I got really good grades. So I remember that this was around the time, this was probably middle of my junior year. Yeah, it was middle of my junior year, and actually it was on a midterm day. So these are the weeks that we had midterms. My friend at the time, he was like a really good friend of mine, and he wasn't even a bad kid. Like, he was in the school plays, and he was well known, and he was popular and funny and just an awesome dude all around. And him and his friends have been dabbling in this drug called K2. They smoke sometimes, you know, like whatever. K2 is also known as Spice, Scooby Snacks. I'm not really sure about the other ones. But basically it's just, it's synthetic marijuana, but I'll get more into what it actually is later in the story. He was like, hey, like tomorrow after midterms, do you want to go and smoke with me? And I was like, sure, you know, like I only smoked a few times before. I thought, oh, you know, I'm gonna relax, I'm so stressed, this will be fun, like a little rebellious, because I never really did anything like that. And he's like, okay, it's K2, it's just fake weed, you know, it gives you the same effect, whatever. So I was like, okay, I'm down. So I remember I just aced my midterm, was living life, feeling good about myself, and I met up with my friend after school. After the day ended, it was like I had to be back at the school after that, like an hour later for, I think it was like variety show practice or school, it was something that had to do with like shows. And I was like, oh, where are we going? We drove a little bit, we got out of the car, we walked, it was like down like a little trail, and he started packing a bowl with this stuff, and it looked just like weed, it smelled like weed. I was like, okay, and I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't really experienced in the whole marijuana department anyways, because I'd only like smoked it twice. So I was like, oh, okay, like this will just make me feel the same way I did when I got high the first time or whatever. So he lights the bowl up. I took 2 hits, and right away I remember I coughed, and I was like leaning against this like wire fence, and I remember like I was like and I got up and everything was just like warped, like, and then after it was like warped, it's really hard to explain, but if you've done it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Everything was like shutter vision. It was like I was looking at things like someone snapped a picture, it was like and I remember like it got to the point where I was walking, I was blacking out, I was walking, and I was like, oh my god, what is my name? I couldn't even remember my name. Like, how scary is that? So we're walking, I remember being like, oh, I don't feel good, you know, what's happening to me? And I remember like I freaked out, I blacked out, I woke up, I was on the ground, I was freaking out. I remember we got into his car, and I was just like, I want to go, and he was like, where? And I was like, I want to go back, and he's like, where? And I was like, to this school. Stupid me, right there. Shouldn't have even gone to the school. I should have just gone home, planted my ass on the couch, and ride it out. But it was freaking me out so much that I had never experienced something like that, that in that weird state of mind, I wound up just like making him drop me back off at the school. I don't even remember walking into the school. I just remember I was in this school, and there was a bathroom, and instead of going in the bathroom and chilling in the stall, I sit outside right next to the bathroom, sit there, I'm like dozing in and out. I called my mom, my phone was about to die, I called her and I was like, Ma, I don't know what's wrong with me, I took something, blah blah blah, and she's like, what, trying to get information out of me, and I don't even remember what I said, but I was all like frazzled, and she was frazzled, and my phone died, and I remember just sitting there, and all of a sudden I went, and I just vomited all over the school floor. And it was in the wing that, you know, like there's like different wings in the school, and this was in the wing that had like all the performing arts things in there. It was like the music room, the dance room, the auditorium, and I was back there. So all of a sudden this kid came up and he was like, oh my god, he found me, and I guess he went to the nurse or to someone, and I just remember after that it was like in and out. Like I don't remember certain parts. I just remember waking up. I was being carried in a wheelchair to the nurse's office. Then I remember being in the nurse's office, and I remember my teacher, my dance teacher, tried telling me something. And then I remember my mom came in and I was holding her hand and she was so worried, and I just felt so bad putting all of them through that at the time. But like I was in like a dreamy state. Like I barely knew what the fuck was going on. One of the authority figures came over to me. They were like, what's wrong with you? Are you dehydrated? Are you this? Are you that? And I was like, no, I took a drug. It's called K2. My friend so-and-so gave it to me because they asked me. And like, I honestly regret saying all that now, because if I would have just wrote it out, I would have been fine. Like, I regret saying who gave it to me. I regret saying what I was on because of the consequences, but I guess you live and you learn. Like, I never get off easy with things. Like, when I'm not meant to do something, when I do something bad, I always regret it, because I always get caught. I always get in trouble. I get the worst possible punishment. So basically I wound up going to the ER. They brought me to the emergency room, and I remember they were like giving me orange juice, and I fell asleep, and I woke up and my dad came in and my mom told him the whole story, and it was this whole big thing. Now this has all taken place in an hour's time, like 60 minutes, okay? And it felt like a whole day, like, oh my god. So then after that, the consequences of my actions were I got suspended from school because I went back to school grounds when I was high off this substance. I threw up. I admitted it. I said who gave it to me. So now my dear friend got in trouble, and that killed me, because for a while after that, he hated me for like giving him up. And I was trying to say, like, I was in that state of mind. Like, I would have never done that if I knew what was going on. I was just freaking out. I thought I was having a heart attack. I couldn't remember my name. Like, it was just a really tragic experience. So that basically like kind of swilled our friendship for a while. We were never the same after that. I was suspended from school, so I went back to school after that, and people were like looking at me differently. Like, I look like a freaking druggie, even though I never did that shit before. I barely even drank. I smoked weed like twice, and I got kicked off the dance team with that suspension. I couldn't do the school show that year with that suspension. And no matter how much I tried to beg and plead with the principal, it was just like, this is the way it is. Like, I'm sorry. And I was like, don't you want me to stay in all these activities? Like, what if I was a druggie? Wouldn't you want me to stay in these activities to, like, keep me entertained and doing something that's beneficial? And they were just like, no. Like, no. So, for the rest of that year, I remember I was just like, it was like anxiety. And I had like minor anxiety in my life, but that triggered like major anxiety. Like, I had panic attacks. I had, you know, my mom would be like, oh, like, once I really found out what K2 was, it wound up being like horse tranquilizer. And then shortly after that, it was like people were dying from it. People were going crazy, blah, blah, blah. They actually wound up making it illegal shortly after my experience, when other people had experienced the same thing. And you know, because at the time when I did it, it was a legal substance. Like, you could buy it in the stores, which is crazy now that I think about it, because that's something that I've never tried acid or any of that, but I feel like it should be in that realm. It's just terrible. I think it should be considered a psychedelic, to be honest, because it was that insane. It was nothing I've ever felt before in my life. So that whole year, the rest of my junior year, I was just having panic attack after panic attack after panic attack. You know, because I was being looked at differently by my peers, by my teacher. My parents looked at me different. My friends' parents looked at me different. My friends looked at me different. My really good friend, who, you know, that I did it with at the time, his friends were looking at me different because I was like the snitch, and like, it was just terrible. I didn't do any of my activities that I was used to doing, so I just felt, you know, bored. I was always at home doing nothing. Like, it was awful. So even a year after that, like my senior year, I still had anxiety. Like, my anxiety was still up to here, because I guess it was just like such a shock to my system that like all of that happened and all the repercussions hit me at once, that I was just like it I did not get over that shit for like honestly, I'm still mad at myself. Like, that year I could have been captain on dance team and someone else got it, because I was kicked off for half a year and I missed finals, and it was just like, Oh my God, like one mistake like that, one tiny wrong move really changed my life. Now, 4 years later, I am telling you, first of all, never do K2, okay? No matter what people say, oh, it's like weed, it's fucking not. 10 times stronger, not good for you. Horse tranquilizer can make holes in your brain, and don't do it, okay? Don't do acid, don't do shrooms, don't be peer pressure into doing things. Don't do it just because everyone else is doing it, you know, like everyone else in your group is doing it, so maybe I'll try it. No, don't, because here I was, a junior, I had the rest of my high school career ahead of me. You know, I was making all these new friends, I was doing well in school, I was doing all these activities that could have looked good for college, and then it's like, bam, this hit me. When I was just a happy little, like, happy-go-lucky girl before that, like, high off life all the time, then this happens, and I'm like, wow. So then after that, it was like, I didn't even smoke weed for a while. I was scared to get drunk, because anything that made me feel like I was out of my body, like that did, scared me. That really put my life into perspective, how one thing like that could change everything. Yeah, like drugs are not cool. You're not cool if you do them. You know what's cool? You know what's cool is getting good grades, doing school activities, getting into college, having lots of friends that love you, family, like close ties. That is cool. Drugs are not cool just to get a 1 hour high and then you ruin your life. Not worth it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it scared you, and it was really hard to just say all that and like relive it, because I don't want to relive like one of the worst times in my life. But I'm happy I could share it with you guys, and please make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, show all your friends, tell them not to do this. That's all I gotta say. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.